Matt Whitlock's playing. Oh my God. A lot of things to talk about. Let's go.
Under pressure, but it's picked up by Archer again. He tries to crash through the pack. He does. He got through Maxwell, and he has a flying shot at goals. And that is a magnificent Glenn Archer goal. 2 in a minute to the man who had the shin.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Further North. Apologise for my voice in advance. I've been a little bit unwell this week, so if it gets a little bit squeaky, croaky, or anything like that, excuse me, but I'm not at my peak. Anyway, we've got things to talk about. We're playing the Swans this weekend, which is incredibly exciting. And I've got Deebs from True Bloods coming onto the show in just a second. Fantastic interview, really good insight on the Swans and how they're feeling and some of the players that they're missing, which makes me think we are absolutely a chance. So look, we'll jump into that now and we'll come back with live team reaction. I've not seen the team. I have heard, unfortunately, through the barbershop, that we do have a debutant this week, but I don't know who's out. I don't know any other selections. But hey, when big news happens, unfortunately being a barber, you find out all those sort of things. Shout out to everyone who listens to the pod that's come in to the barbershop this week as well. Thank you so much. It's so cool that people come and see me and get a haircut and talk North. It's really, really fun. So Black and Brown Barbershop across from Mitcham Station in Mitcham. Get on the website. You can book Josh. You can request me and put Further North in the comments for extra special service. Anyway, all that being said, let's get into the interview with Deebs, and we'll be back here to talk about some news and the team selection. Welcome back to Further North, everybody. We've got a massive game coming up against the Swans at Marvel Stadium, and we need some Swans insight. And we know we have to get the biggest guests out. We've got Deebs from True Bloods. Welcome back to the pod, mate, and maybe this will be an annual thing now.
Pleasure to be back, Joshy. It's good. We've both won games this year. It's all trending in the right direction. We started a bit slow, but had a win before we had a bye last week, mate. So yeah, looking forward to hopefully continuing the win with a win over you guys on Saturday night, mate. But it's looking forward to it.
If I told you that a lot of North fans are sniffing a win for us here, what would you say?
Oh, they've got every right to. It's you've definitely shown that improvement, but probably got a little bit of a reality check on the weekend over at the Adelaide Oval. It's one of those hard ones. You don't know how good Adelaide are yet, but obviously you guys pumped Melbourne the week before, and then the reality check at the Adelaide Oval on Sunday. So yeah, look at every chance you could go there and do a number on us, but I think we're trending in the upwards direction as well. And although we're sitting 1 and 2, I think we're playing some good footy. It's not quite great yet, but yeah, I wouldn't. I'm not beaming with confidence like we have been in the past when playing North. I think we're good enough to win, but it should be a close contest.
Yeah, well, I think most North fans are pretty happy with our performance against Adelaide. I mean, 6 goals to where we think they're going to be, and let me know what you think about this, but I sort of feel like you can tell when a team is actually good or they're just winning because they're playing bad teams, but Adelaide sort of just go and win the game, and they're so physical, move the ball well, and you can't really stop their forward line. And I sort of said 3 or 4 goals would be nice. 6 goals in the end. We didn't get smashed, but, and they didn't have runs throughout the game where they just tore us apart. They sort of just chipped away. So I think overall I'm pretty happy with the performance because we didn't look gutless. We didn't give up or anything like that. And I think that's the biggest difference for us. How do you feel about Sydney's start? Like you said 1 and 2, but you're trending upwards. What's been the biggest difference maybe this year for the Swans?
Yeah, it's just sort of a few things with our contested ball. I think we've lost the contested ball every week, and definitely evident in that opening round against Hawthorn. Look, they're probably the premiership favourites as it stands now, and we could have won that game very easily. It sort of went down by 20 points, and we've had some crucial things go wrong at crucial moments. In our first 2 games, we had guys taking on the 45 kick and, turning it over directly in front of goal. When the game was on the line, that's what happened. It puts you that extra goal down and makes it really hard to win. We've played the top 2 in the betting market already. We've played Hawthorn and we played Brisbane, lost by a kick to them. Could well have won that as well. But look, there's some concerns with our game. I'm not overly, as I said, happy with the contested ball. And I probably don't think we're taking on the game enough by hand. And that's sort of the modern way, is to gain territory by hand. And that's when you can look really slick and, you get the overlap going and it looks really good. We haven't been doing that too much. So that's what I'll be looking for this weekend. But look, and then, we sort of gritted a great win out against Perth, over in Perth against the Dockers. We've got a really large injury list. I don't think we'll be expecting too many of them back this week. So, we're still undermanned, but we're really grinding it out, and we're not going down by big margins, and hopefully we can dig deep and, go again this week after the bye.
Yeah, I don't think you've looked bad by any means this season. I've watched most of the Swans games, and I tipped you against the Lions. I think you were unlucky to go down there. Like you said, the Hawks are the Hawks at the moment. Like I honestly dislike watching Hawthorn play. It makes me so upset. But respect to them, they're incredibly good at what they do. The Lions, yeah, tough one. I don't think the Lions are quite as good as people think they are. I think they've had a really sluggish start to the season, but still a win over the reigning, just going down to the reigning premiers is still a very, very good effort. And yeah, obviously your losing margins haven't been very big at all. So, I did back you against the Dockers. I think I've tipped you guys every single week so far, and I'm 1 from 3. So look, hopefully, I don't know which one I'm going to tip this week. I guess we'll discuss that at the end. But you mentioned some injuries. I don't know too much about the injury list with the Swans. What sort of key players are injured at the moment for you guys?
Well, structure's key, right? So we've got Lewis Melican, who's gone down. To be fair, Joel Hamling's come into his spot, and he's played really well. We've got, the likes of Errol Goulden out as well. Then you've got the guys like Taylor Adams, who's just one of those guys that, he just sturdies you up in the midfield a little bit. And then, Harry Cunningham's another one. So they're the guys who take that small forward, and you don't have to, it's one of those positions you don't think about. It's like, who's going to take care of the small forward? And, not having Harry Cunningham there, Justin McInerney out with the suspension as well, Robbie Fox, the skipper, Callum Mills. You start, and you got Logan McDonald from the grand final last year. It's 7 or 8 players who would walk straight into this 22, and it's probably not getting spoken about like most things in the media with the Swans. It's we've been pretty good for the injury list that we've had, and that's what you got to do when you get dealt with this adversity, is just find a way to win, and hopefully we can continue that on the weekend. But yeah, the injury list is quite long.
Yeah, well, I guess it's because you've got such a deep team, yeah, and there's always a guy coming through that no one's ever heard of that seems to just rack up 25, 30 a week for you guys as well. So maybe that's why people are underestimating a bit, because I just feel like I don't know. I couldn't name you like all 25 guys that maybe are in contention for the Swans, but it doesn't really seem to matter who's in that spot. You've always got someone who's going to step up and play their role and make you sort of dangerous. Maybe let's talk about a couple of like matchups or lines of the field that we think like we're strong and weak in. You mentioned sort of who is going to play on like a smaller forward for us. I really back and love our forward line this year. I think that's been our biggest improvement, and I believe that, every time we get it in the forward 50, we look dangerous and we look like we can score. Curtis and Zerha have been fantastic this year, and Constanti's kicked a couple of goals last week and has been putting a lot of pressure through, obviously ex-Swans player. How do you feel like maybe your back line is going to match up on our forward line? Because Larky seems to kick 3 or 4 every week regardless of who he's on, and then you got those small guys who have really stepped up this year. How do you reckon it'll match up?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. And so there's been a big talking point in the media with the Swans, with Tommy McCartan starting the year forward, and then through necessity, he had to go back last week. And that's only because of the injury to Melican. If that hadn't happened, I still think you'd be seeing Tommy forward. But, Tommy's probably got to go to Larky. And then you've got Joel Hamling up there, whether he goes to Zerha, not too sure. And then you've got Nick Blakey playing a role back there. He can play tall or small. And then you've got a few other guys like Riley Bice, who's been playing off half back and nearly won us the game against Freo. You could nearly put it down to him in that last quarter. But, Paul Curtis has been really impressive. Big fan of what he does. And I look at, if I could choose one forward to have in our side, it would be Nick Larky. I love what he does. And especially in, what has been an average side the last 3 or 4 years, he's been pretty consistent. And, yeah, I'm a big fan of the sort of.
Yeah, Liam the Coleman now too. I mean, he doesn't miss many chances. I mean, 4-2 on the weekend is probably a bad result for him, to be fair. It should be
Yeah.
at least 5-1 or 6 straight. So, yeah, look, we're very lucky to have the big Sue. I mean, nearly every team in the league will be lining up for him, and credit to him, I guess, for signing on and being loyal. How about your forward line? Let's talk about that, because I've been really impressed with our back line. Toby Pink, we've got a lot of ex-Swans on our team, I really realised last week as well. A lot
Had
of
the year in the sample in between as well, though.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But I mean, even Dylan Stevens played a really good role coming off the bench, and Luke Parker, I thought, was one of our better mids on the weekend. So we're basically the Swans from 5 years ago, which is exciting. So, look, what do you reckon of your forward line right now? I mean, do you think that might be, in my opinion, but you're a lot more educated than me, that's probably your weakest line of the field, especially with the talls? I mean, Papley's really good, and you've got some smalls down there that can concern me, but how do you feel like your forward line is functioning, and do you think that's a pretty decent matchup for our back line, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, it's functioning okay, and that's what everyone always sort of goes to, is the forward line of the Swans. I think Joel Armati is a player who is a bit of a whipping boy for the Swans. When he's kicking goals, everyone's sort of happy with him. When if he sort of doesn't kick straight, everyone jumps on him. Where I think he's so consistent in how he competes. So I'm a big fan of what Joel does. We had Hayden McLean back last week, which was huge for us, which sort of allowed Tommy to go back as well. He just competes and battles away, but it's probably where we've got a few players out of form as well. Your Will Haywoods have been awesome in previous years, probably hasn't hit the mark so far. And the same with Tommy Papley as well. You mentioned him before. He's a guy who he just had, I think he may have only kicked a goal for the season so far. He started to get a bit back into it against Freo. I think he had the 19 touches, didn't quite hit the scoreboard, but there's some new faces getting around there. Chad Warner's spending a fair bit of time down forward. He's sort of a 50-50 split at the moment. And we've got a guy called Tom Hanley as well, who's think Tom Papley 2.0. He's got those vibes about him. And they're probably not firing on all cylinders at the moment, but I think it is starting to come together for them as well.
Okay. And midfield-wise, I think this is where, I mean, the midfield is the thing most teams go to every single week. Whoever wins the midfield battle is the obvious one. But, I think our midfield has shown that if we're on, I think we're really hard to beat. But we're as likely to be on as off. And that's the thing that maybe against the Crows, we did pretty well to match them in the clearance and the midfield numbers, but our effectiveness out of that was really, really poor. That was the same against the Dogs. But then against the D's, we nailed it. So I really wonder what the balance is going to be there. How have you seen your midfield this year? Is that an area you think you can get on top of us, or how do you think we match up there?
Yeah, it's where the games are won and lost, isn't it? Isaac Heaney probably hasn't been at his last year's best, but at the same time, ultra consistent too. I wouldn't say he's out of form, but he's probably just not setting the world on fire like he was. But at the same time, he's been forced to sort of play a bit more of a contested role too. He's the one in there and getting it, and not so much the player on the outside. But a player like James Jordan has been huge for us in a tagging role whilst getting his own ball at the for himself as well. So I think against Freo, he tagged Sarong out of it and had 10 clearances himself. And then, Sarong doesn't get a tag and he wins the best on ground in the Derby last week. So he's taken Lockie Neal's number. He's taken Sarong's number. And I reckon he'll definitely be going to one of your mids. It's got to be probably Simpkin or LDU, you would think. If we had to tag one mid out of the game, who would you send a Swannies player to?
It's got to be LDU. He's sort of the barometer. I'd say Shees has been a little bit down on form this year. He's still getting around the footy and got good numbers, but effectiveness, efficiency, and just having big moments in the game or game-breaking moments, he's probably lacking this year. So, LDU has been either very, very good or a little bit flat. It's got to be LDU for me, I think. If you want to, if he gets on top, he can be the best midfielder of nearly anyone on the park, except for maybe your A-grade guys. So, look, I think it's got to be him. What do you reckon with Grundy? How have you felt about Brody Grundy this year?
Yeah, he's an interesting one. copped a hit in the match simulation and missed a week or two on the track. And I think he's really laboured since then. Got subbed off against Freo, which was interesting, but it was sort of 35 degrees over there. And the funny thing with Brodie, he sort of tends to start slow and then really work into the game. But he's going to be up against it with Cherry. He's, he's probably the informed ruck in the comp, and he's going to have to set himself to try and just even this contest, because that's huge. You can't allow him to get on top because he's been great so far this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're such different ruckmen as well. I mean, I don't see Brodie Grundy as a very super physical type and a guy's going to bully anybody, but it's historically has been his work around the ground, which is almost like a fourth midfielder when the ball is bounced. And people say that about Cherry, but I don't really. I think people overblow him a little bit, and he's a fantastic ruckman. This is not me criticizing him at all. But the one thing from him is people always talk about his clearance, but his clearance is a lot of just bombing it out and winning the ball, but then just sending it. And a lot of them can lead in a turnover, or it's not the most effective disposal. His tackle pressure is elite around there. And we saw on the weekend, even little moments around the ground where he sort of bullied O'Brien, for the day. I mean, Jerry lost the taps and that sort of stuff, which is not used to, but physically, O'Brien tried to square up to him once and he pushed him, he fell over on it. I've never seen a man that big run so fast in his life. And to be fair to O'Brien, I'd be doing the exact same thing, even though I'm half his size. So I think that's going to be really, really interesting because Sherry came up against a ruckman who's very similar to him on the weekend against the Crows. And now he's going to come up against a very different type, which I think suits him much better because I guess Gawn does a little bit of everything, doesn't he? But maybe a better comparison is English, where those ruckmen that seem to be able to be a little bit more agile and cover the ground more don't seem to get the better of Sherry, even though I feel like they can. They just don't seem to get a hold of him for some reason.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a huge test for Broads. And look, it's something that we saw. He probably battled a little bit against, who is the Hawks ruck? Lloyd Meek. In opening round, he sort of got pushed off the ball a little bit. And Broads, it's so funny. Broads is known for being pretty strong, like holds the bench press record at the Swans. And
does he really? What's he bench pressing? More than Paul Curtis?
Yeah, you would hope so. You would hope so.
Do you know what the number is?
Yeah, I think it's like 160 plus. I think
because Paul Curtis is 165. So
yeah, okay, there you go. So now I'm not sure of that 100% the number, but it's something that I just don't want to see him be pushed off a contest. He's just got to battle it out, even the contest, and hopefully then our mids can go to work and win the contest in there. But that's something I'll really be looking forward to seeing on Saturday night.
What's an area that the Swans do well that you think you can beat us with? What's your best thing this year that has allowed you to win games and be in games?
Yeah, we probably haven't seen it the way we win games, and it's that ball transition off half back. We've got the foot skills to beat a lot of teams, and I think we've just got to go for it a little bit more. I reckon we've been, a little bit protective with our ball movement and not necessarily taking on the game. But, under the lid at Marvel, there's no excuses, conditions. It's not going to be hot. It's going to be the perfect time to take on the game and, get our game flowing. So hopefully with the guys like the Lizard can get free, even Riley Bice. He's shown a lot in his first 2 games of footy. They're the guys who can take on the game and cut you up through the middle. They've got the ability to pull off those kicks. So that's what I'll be looking forward to on Saturday night.
Yeah, and look, I don't know how much North you've watched, but is there an area for North you think we do well that might trouble the Swans, or something you think you can't defend maybe quite as well?
Well, it's probably that contest. We've been done with it within the contest in all 3 games. So, the likes of Simpkin, if Cherry can get his tap game going down to LDU, bursting out a contest. I thought we lacked a little bit defensive side of contest against Freo. Got sucked into it a bit, and they were able to move the ball pretty well out of contest when they got that first bit of separation. So I'm hoping that they can stick defensive side a little bit better and stop that transition being so free. And then, at the same time, be able to go forward a contest when we win, use the likes of Chad Warner out of contest. I'm sure he's going to be prepping himself for a big one. But look, I I'll be looking for that contest, and that's where we probably are vulnerable and have been, for the last 2 years.
Yeah, okay. So if there's one player you can pick that you think is going to be the match winner, who's going to tear it up and be best on ground for the Swans if you get the win? Give us a prediction.
Oh, it's got to be Chad Warner. He's in good form. You back him in. He's hit the scoreboard in every game. Those goal-kicking midfielders, they're a different breed, and they're so valuable. And, we're praying and hoping that he re-signs with the Swannies. But he's playing some good footy. He's looking strong. He's looking quick. And I think he can sort of hurt you guys forward of the ball as well. So Chad's our match winner, and that's probably where I see it.
Any closer for him to signing? Any words on that? I mean, I think it's crazy that he'd consider going to West Coast. If he wants to take his career seriously, I'd probably be signing at the Swans. Do you know anything else about that, or how's the gut feel for the fan base at the moment?
Yeah, it's funny. Probably at the start of the year, it was, he's probably going to leave, right? There's going to be just this huge money that we won't be able to match. But, the talk of the 2 years at big money, you don't mind, that big money on your books for 2 years. It's not too bad. And then sort of we've had this needle thing going all year. Is he staying? Is he going? And probably the last 2 weeks, it's been trending upwards for sure. You saw the jumper pull against Freo and, sort of giving it to the Freo players when we won. That sort of made you think he's staying. And then there's an interview on Channel 10 where he says, I'm not sure. It's going to be hard to not come back home. And I think that was a bit of his manager's play. That one is sort of, don't give away too much. You're costing yourself money here, Chad. So he just sort of neutralised it a little bit with that interview. But look, I reckon he might stay. He's good money for 2 years at a better side that's closer to a flag. So fingers crossed.
Do you think 2 years is a good thing? I mean, obviously you'd rather him stay than not, but with some of the contracts floating around these days, maybe they can stretch the money and front load a deal or something like that for him. Does 2 years make you feel like you're going to go through the same thing in a couple of years' time?
Yeah, you would. But look, it's a business at the end of the day. And, it goes through to free agency and you're stupid not to shop yourself around for free agency. So I got nothing against it. But, if he commits 2 more years to the Swans while we're sort of in this window, I would much rather that than, he piss off over to the West this year,
Yeah, I mean, look, why are you going to West Coast anyway, to be honest? Fremantle I can understand, even though I think the Dockers are pretty overhyped. I mean, I said this at the start of the year. Let's just see on them because they didn't even make the finals. I know a team jumps out of the bottom 8 or 10 and goes into the top 4 every year or whatever stat they're whipping out. But, I don't really respect the going home thing. I think, if you're getting that much money and fame and sponsorships, play where you get drafted and go to whichever team is going to make you win premierships, right? And that's clearly the Swans. I mean, the West Coast have no future. They're banking on nothing but signings. I mean, trading away their draft picks, and apart from Harley Reid, who's not looking fantastic at the moment, even though he's still incredibly talented, there's not really much there for the future. So I'd be shocked if he went to West Coast. It's only money and family, but if you're, mid-20s? I don't know. It just makes me feel a bit gross. Like, come on, man, go win premierships and, give it back to the Swans of what they've given you. They're going to be challenging all the time, the Swans. So, surely that's got to be the best place for it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, look, you would be a bit filthy if he went home and, after, just the 4 or 5 years at the club, whatever it is. But, if you did happen to go, you'd have to think it's 3 first rounders coming back our way and you can, trade away for something else. But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Would it
be a trade or would it be just the free agency compensation?
No, he's not a free agent. So It's got to be a trade.
Oh, okay. So I thought they're talking about him like he's a free agent. That was my impression.
That's what I mean. The chat is amazing. It's like he has to be traded. There's no free agent to this. Yeah, he's not a free agent, so he's got to be traded.
Well, yeah, look, we're going through a similar thing with LDU. We all think he's going to stay. I mean, all the reports, Jay Clark and whatnot are all reporting, Cal Toomey reporting he's going to stay. Even his interviews, he's sort of hinted at staying a lot as well and said he's happy and, he sees himself at North. So, but nothing is, a done deal until the dotted line is signed. So, God, please, LDU, if you're listening to this, my friend. LDU followed the pod a couple of days ago. So if that's not that's not a confirmation, I don't know what is, mate. You heard it here first. All right. Before we let you go, this is my new favorite question to ask people. I thought of this on the fly last week. I'm going to do it every week. Who's your favorite player who played for both clubs? What's or a player we forgot about that got traded between the Swans and North Melbourne?
Yeah.
Give me some names.
I see. I'm no good at this, but you'd have to go with Luke Parker. Look, it kills me seeing him in blue and white. It really does. But gee, he was an absolute servant for our footy club. There wasn't a better clubman. He put us on his back in so many games, and there were just not too many midfielders in the game that could have 30 and kick 5. And he did it a couple of times for us. But yeah, look, it'd be nothing from sort of respect from the True Bloods community towards Parks this Saturday night. But it still does absolutely kill me seeing Parks in playing for the Kangas.
We'll take care of him, mate. Don't worry about that. And we'll take care of Toby Pink for you as well. I know the Swans fans are filthy on letting him go with the amazing form he's in. Constanti as well. And like I said, Dylan Stevens, we got heaps of them. It's crazy. I know the other guys aren't quite as written into Swans lore, but I don't know. I didn't really realize this until today when I was prepping for the pod. I'm like, we've got a few ex-Swans on our list right now.
Yeah, and Jacob Constanti as well. It's good to see him get a game, and see, you like seeing that when guys don't get an opportunity at a club, and then they go to their new club and sort of start playing straight away. You love to see that, but there's definitely a few down there, that's for sure. The Dylan Stevens kills us as Swan supporters, though.
As in, you didn't like him?
Oh, nothing. I didn't mind Dill as a player, but he just wasn't quite at what we needed and wasn't quite consistent enough. And I think you guys have seen that in the first couple of years, but it's more where we took him with pick 5. We had our national recruiting manager, Kinnear Beatson, on the podcast last year. And, he overlooked Sarong for Dylan Stevens, and that one keeps him up at night. And, yeah, it's a killer.
Well, look, just for the record as well, my favourite player between clubs, Shannon Grant. Give me Shannon Grant.
Good one.
Love it. And Wayne Schwass, I think, went between both as well. So
yeah, Schwatter was a great one. He was great when he came up to the Swannies. Yeah, big fan of both those guys.
That was in the trade for Grant, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, could well be. You're testing me there. But, yeah, both nice left foots on both of them. It's they were great.
One of my favourites of all time, Shannon Grant, and Norm Smith medalist as well. So we appreciate that one.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get a prediction. How's the game going to play out, mate? Who's going to win, and what's the score going to be?
I think the Swannies fire up after the bye, and it's a good time. As funny as, you're only 3 games in, but geez, I think we needed it, the bye as well, and, rest up a few of those injuries, although I don't think we'll see too many of them back. But I think the Swannies in a tight one, 15 points. I think sort of we'll kick over 100 and, you'll be around the 80-odd mark would be my prediction.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty similar, but I'm going to flip it. I think our forward line and back line can get a hold of the Swans, and it's really dependent on the midfield battle. And if Prime, LDU, and Shees turn up, I reckon we can do something. I think the Swans are a better unit, but I'm so excited about the way we've been playing. I've been saying in my head for the last few days, I think North by 2 goals. I think if we play to our best, obviously I could see it going the other way. The last time we played the Swans was not something I want to think about too much because we got done by nearly 100 or 80 odd points or something up at the SCG. But at the track at Marvel, I don't know. I'm going to back the form against the Ds to be consistent. I think our contested work was fantastic against the Crows and has been all year. So give me North by 2 goals. And it just feels so weird that I'm tipping North a bit more this year. I don't know. It makes me uncomfortable.
That's it. Oh, well, mate, we're definitely vulnerable. That's for sure. It's if you look at it down on paper, there's no doubt that it's not a walk-up win like it has been in the past couple of years, and I'm sure we'll be approaching it like that as well. But yeah, we just hope for a good contest.
Unreal. Well, look, let's end it there, mate. Thank you for your time. Good luck on the weekend. If you're at the stadium, maybe we can come and catch up and say hello. But good luck for the game and go North. But hopefully the Swans get around Luke Parker as well.
Likewise, mate. We'll catch up for a beer.
Thank you so much to Deebs for coming on and giving me his time. Such good Swans insight. Had him on last year. Hopefully it's an annual thing now. Top bloke as well. So fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff. True Bloods do awesome stuff. That's one of the bigger fan podcasts out there and what we would like to go and sort of grow to here at Further North one day, maybe. We need to win some more games first. Anyway, live team reaction. Let's have a chat after that. Let's have a look right now. You know what? what do I think's going to happen before I look at the team? Well, I've heard Whitlock is in, and that's incredibly exciting. But who comes out? Because Toby Pink is the obvious one. But obvious? Not to me. He played so well last week. He got Sean Atlee Club Champ votes last week. It'd be very, very harsh to drop Toby Pink after, I would say, his best game for North. Other than that, I mean, Common's not getting dropped unless there's an injury or something, but Clarko in his press conference said they're unscathed, basically, except for Sherry, who he said is playing. And yeah, Core's not going anywhere. So unless we're going for a four-pronged monster in the back line for Amadi and McLean when there's no McDonald down there for them or anything like that. Really strange. Logue is the other one that maybe should be coming back in. But if Whitlock is in, surely he can't be there. Unless Whitlock's going to play forward, which he hasn't played in the VFL at all, I think it's a travesty that he's not playing in the forward line. I don't get it from a list management perspective. But hey, I did chat to some people today at the barbershop and we were talking about maybe Whitlock's playing back so he can be moved into the forward line eventually, but just getting around the ball back. Anyway, let's not talk about that. Other than that, I mean, I don't think there's many changes to make. I personally would probably drop Tucker, but he won't be dropped. He's never dropped. He's got dirt on Clarko or something. I wouldn't mind a Hardiman coming in or maybe a bit more run and carry with the ball. Who is out, who's in the VFL that's going to produce that? Don't really know, to be honest, because, I mean, Ford got injured. So, look, I don't think there should be too many changes, but I'm really interested to find out who Whitlock is in for. And if it's Toby Pink, I'm not going to be happy, even though long-term, obviously, that's the best decision. But, yeah, I just don't want to drop players for the sake of dropping players. Like, Toby Pink deserved his spot this week. And I would be upset. I think it sets a bad standard if you're just getting rid of blokes who play well. So anyway, let's have a look and we'll chat about it in a sec. Damn. Okay. Logue and Whitlock in. And Pink and Phillips out. So harsh. So harsh on Toby Pink. I don't love that. I feel so sorry for him. Man, that sucks for Toby Pink. Will Phillips, another interesting one. I mean, look, hasn't tore the world apart. I think the midfield has looked a little bit better when he's there, when he's not there. I mean, I sort of draw back to the last quarter against the D's and we took him off and put Dylan Stevens on to play sort of half back in a more running role. And I think our midfield looked a little bit better mix. I don't think he's played bad per se, but he needs to get around the ball. I don't mind trialing that and just a slightly different midfield mix. I don't hate that at all. But then it's like, and I don't think Robert Hanson should be dropped. But then you look at his game compared to Pink's. Pink was much better. Look at Darcy Tucker compared to Pink. Pink was much better. Yeah, that is a bad call on my in my opinion. I don't think Logue should be an automatic in. Pink has played better. Pink's 2 games are better than Logue's game this year. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments because, yes, Logue and Whitlock are going to be better players long term and, you know, I want to see them in there over Toby Pink eventually, but you just can't drop blokes after they have good games. I think it sets a bad standard, so don't know how I feel about that. Let me know how you feel about Will Phillips. I thought he sort of had his spot until Wardlaw came back, so that's also an interesting one, but I think I understand because I've liked what the midfielders produced maybe when he's not there. And it's not a diss on him. Like I said, I like him as a player, but he's not really getting around the ball enough. The only reason I don't like the Will Phillips thing is because I was thinking maybe Heaney or Warner, he could be like do a tagging job on, even though he hasn't played tagger since the Collingwood game or the West Coast game, basically. So clearly I don't see that in him. But the Swans midfield, Heaney hasn't been at it this year like he was last year. Warner is a great player, so I'd probably be trying to tag him. And the other guys who go through there probably aren't as good as our mids. So, yeah, weird game to drop Phillips to be honest. And, yeah, I mean, look at their forward line. Like, I mean, they've named Tom McCartan in their forward line, but he surely isn't going to play in the forward line. Obviously, Deebs said that he's gone back, and he has gone back the last week or so. But they don't really have any key defenders that I'm like, watch out. are Larky and Darling going to have a field day? Oh, they're gettable, the Swans. I mean, obviously the big one for the Swans is Papley out. That's massive. He's one of the better small forwards in the league. Caden Cleary is coming in. Don't know heaps about him, but I think that's the guy that sort of plays similar to Papley, and he was okay in the few showings, if it's the same guy I'm thinking of. But I'm looking at their team overall, and it's like the names, no one stands out, right? Because you got a Marty, you got McCartan, and I mean, I'm surely Hayden McLean will play forward. And I guess you've got Core, Comben, and Logue to cover them. But where does Whitlock play? Surely someone's got to go forward. You can't play Comben, Core, Logue, and Whitlock in the back line because they don't have the tools. That would have been nice last week against the Crows. And then you can let Chom be that interceptor. But then when the ball hits the ground, what are we going to do? Like, I know Papley's out, but I don't know. Interesting. I'm really interested to see your thoughts about what we're going to try and do. Do you think Whitlock or Comben is going to play forward? I would hope Whitlock over Comben. Comben's been too good down there as an interceptor. Whitlock's young. Mold him as a forward. I still don't understand it. Mold him as a forward. Because when Darling goes in a couple of years, we're back to square one. Look what Darling's been able to do structurally for our forward line. Will Dawson's going to come into this team eventually as well. You know, Callan Dawson holds his own. I like what Toby Pink's brought the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I don't understand the Whitlock as a backman thing. But hey, really excited for Whitlock's debut. You know, Joel is going to be on the podcast to review the Swans game, and he's the biggest Whitlock guy I've ever seen. So he'll be very, very excited to watch his boy play. But yeah, does McKercher go in the middle more without Phillips there? You know, Sheasel hopefully getting thrown some more bounces. He's been named on halfback, but that doesn't mean anything where they name them. Yeah, McKercher and Sheasel are going to have more midfield time, and you'd think they'd have to be if Will Phillips is out and we're bringing in two key defenders, which I like. I think we need difference. This is what I talked about in the Harry Sheasel video a couple of days ago, which is interesting because I swear some people read the title and commented and didn't watch the video. But I think we need a little bit of point of difference in that midfield. So hopefully Shears and McKercher get more midfield time with Phillips being out. But yeah, I would have probably kept Phillips in, or at least on a bench or the sub maybe, to potentially tag a Heaney or a Warner, which apart from those guys, I'm not too worried about their midfield, you know. So anyway, look, interesting team selection. The biggest team selection of the year. It's been a little bit flat because we've been playing better. Not as many crazy choices. But hey, two key defenders in, and one key defender out for a forward line that I don't think is super threatening. So we'll see what it is. Let me know what you guys think about Pink, about Phillips, all your thoughts down in the comments. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. It helps me a lot. Like the video, and commenting, all that stuff's free. And it really, really helps me. And I like reading the comments, the positive ones anyway. So thank you so much to those guys who comment, say something positive, put their thoughts down below and start discussions. I'm starting to see more discussions in the comments, and it's cool. It's cool to have a little bit of a chat forum here. I need to get in the YouTube comments a little bit more. There's so many things to concentrate on with podcasting that's like sometimes I forget the YouTube comments, but get down in there, subscribe. Instagram is the best place to follow the podcast. That's where I'm the most active. The TikTok is doing very well this year. I'm trying to do 2 or 3 videos a week. So get on the TikTok. Facebook is there as well. Further North Pod, Further North Podcast, and all those places. You'll find it. You know where it is. I always post the Linktree link anyway, so you can go and find all of that. The only real news this week is Taylor Goad signed until 2028, I believe, which is a fantastic signing. We need to put time and development into this guy. I think he's going to be a really good player one day. Another guy that Joel is incredibly high on, and we'll get his thoughts on the signing of Goad. But yeah, look, we're trying to don him the unicorn. Common term of phrase, I guess, used in America. Kristaps Porzingis, the original unicorn. Hopefully a back-to-back champion this year. We'll see. But I don't know. He's got a lot of ability, Taylor Goad, and I think he could be a really good player. And imagine him and Jerry are up and about. If Taylor Goad could ever play a bit more forward, that'd be the best combination in like 3 years' time, where you can get a guy who's Luke Jackson-esque but with a higher ceiling and a bully like Jerry in there. That 1-2 ruck punch would be fantastic. So, hey, Taylor Goad signed. As far as I should have done more research on this, but off the top of my head, there's not really much more going on, to be honest. I can see here, I'll go to the bloody website, won't I, and just see if there's any more updates. But yeah, it's really just the goad news. And I really enjoy or like that they're doing that sort of stuff. Reward these younger guys for improving, and the form that he's been in, or the improvement, that he's shown from last season to this season, fantastic. And you got to reward guys like that, and I really, really like it. Not much more going on here. There's all the videos. Oh yeah, the Whitlock phone call video. That's pretty standard right now. The Clarko's telling him he's playing. I'll watch all that later. It's all the same sort of stuff. I'm kind of over it, to be fair. It's cool, but is what it is. Anyway, maybe we can leave it there in a second. Let's tip some games and get out of here, I reckon. A few calls to bring the barbershop chat back as well. So let me know if you want that back. I didn't think people loved it, and it just takes longer to make this pod. I'm trying to keep it as short as possible. So let me know if you want it back. But the barbershop's super fun. A lot of talk about Carlton and a lot of talk about North Pole has basically been going on. Speaking of Carlton, they're currently 14-8 ahead. We know Carlton in first halves is acceptable, but in the second half, they're abysmal. So let's tip the round and get out of here. Collingwood, Carlton. It's got to be Collingwood. If Carlton beat Collingwood, I'll be so confused. What is this season? What is going on? I'll tip Collingwood by 4 goals. 4 goals. I think Carlton will keep it close and they'll fight a bit more, but give it to me by 4 goals. Geelong, Melbourne. Geez, this could be... I said this against the Saints, though, but Geelong, Melbourne, down at GMHBA, it should be a big win, but the Cats don't seem as dangerous. So they'll win for sure. Melbourne are a shambles. So give me the Cats. Collingwood just kicked a goal too. Here we go. Gold Coast, Adelaide. I think this is a really interesting game. I want to hate the Gold Coast so much, and I still don't fully believe. If Gold Coast perform in this game, I will drop my son's hatred a little bit. The club's always going to be irrelevant, but I won't keep denying that they're playing well. They've played the 2 worst teams in the league, basically, in West Coast and Melbourne. So do it against a good opponent, Gold Coast, and then I'll believe in you. So give me the Crows, but if it doesn't go that way, I will back the Gold Coast a little bit more. Richmond, Brisbane, should be Brisbane pretty easily. Brisbane don't scare me as much as last year, though. They don't look quite as good. But yeah, Richmond, rubbish. Sydney North, you heard my tip in the previous thing. I reckon North by a couple of goals. I reckon we can do it. I'm going to keep backing us until I really get flat again. I never really tip us, as you guys know if you've listened to the preview pods. But yeah, give me North. I'm buying in. GWS, West Coast. Why even bother? West Coast. I reckon West Coast could potentially win the spoon over Richmond. They look atrocious. How bad's Oscar Allen as well? I've seen him do an apology, but I haven't listened to it. I saw it on the TV at work. We didn't have the sound on, but I saw he apologized, and it's just so bad. Harley Reid, 1, is overrated, and 2, isn't going to stay there. The captain's meeting in round 3 with an opposition coach, and it's just it's a complete shambles. West Coast is banking on signings and not investing in youth. They're all in on Chad Warner, who I don't think they're going to get. And if they lose Reid, don't get Warner, and their captain bails or isn't invested, good luck. Because apart from Harley Reid, there's not heaps of talent on that. Jinby looks all right, but I don't think he's A grade or potentially that in the future. There's another Reid, Archer Reid, as a defender for West Coast. I think he looks all right. But outside of that, God, it's dire there, isn't it? Sorry, Big Ant. We'll get Big Ant back on too. He's been a little bit anonymous on the podcast for a bit, but we'll get him back. Port St Kilda, another really tough game to pick with this one. I've gone St Kilda, but I don't feel great about it. Port just look rubbish, don't they? Which is fantastic. Give me the Saints, but I'm not confident on that one. Freo Bulldogs, Freo aren't real. Flag mantle, it's time to get rid of flag mantle and say make the 8 first, and then you can start donning yourselves flag mantle. Give me the Dogs. I've been really impressed by the Dogs. When they get their stars back as well, that'll be really, really exciting. Have they got anyone back this week? Let me have a look at the lineups. No one of note. So yeah, really, really interesting for the Dogs. I've been really, really impressed with how well they've played. So when they get their stars back, they might be a top 8 threat. Anyway, look, that's it. There's my tips. My tips are the best in the game. This has been going long enough. Thank you guys. Follow us on all the socials. Give us a like. It helps a lot. 5-star reviews on Apple and Spotify helps me so much. Best way to give back to the podcast at this point, because I don't make heaps of money, and it's free content for everyone multiple days a week. So I'm trying my best. Anyway, thank you so much, guys. Love you lots. Go North. We're going to be down at Friends of Fire, I believe it is. I can't remember. But Marnie and Kanga TV are doing sort of a meetup, and there's $25 pots and Parmigiana on and all that sort of stuff at Friends of Fire, I think from about 5:30 on the day, 4:30 or 5:30. But go on the socials and you'll figure it out. But we're going to be down there. Close to a Flag will be down there. If you want to come for a feed before the game, come and say hi. Bay 29 is on as well, so get on to Bay 29. There's tickets still available. I'll post the link very soon. Anyway, get around all that sort of stuff. Come and say hi. Have a pub feed. Get in the Bay 29. Shout some Kangas, and let's watch North win by a couple of goals. All right. Thank you guys so much. Chat to you soon.